Hello everyone and welcome to the download from 24 IT Services. We've got a brilliant show lined up today with a great guest from our local business community. Today we're joined by Joe Barber from Travel with Joe and Emily. But we're going to check out some news first. Let me welcome Joe onto the show. Hello Joe!
Hey,
How are we doing?
great. Thank you very much for inviting me.
No worries, no worries. Let's check out some tech and cyber news to get the show started today. It's been reported this past week that criminal records and financial information was among a significant amount, should I say, of personal data stolen in a cyber attack on the Legal Aid Agency on April 23rd. The Ministry of Justice has confirmed that it includes data of about 2.1 millions of users of applicants since 2010. Jane Harbottle, I think that's how you say that, the chief executive of the legal agency said, "I understand that this news will be shocking and upsetting for people, and I'm extremely sorry that this has happened. Since the discovery of the attack, my team has been working around the clock with the National Cybersecurity Centre to bolster the security of our systems so that we can safely continue the vital work of the agency. However, it has become clear that to safeguard the service and its users, we needed to take radical action. That's why we've taken the decision to take the online services down. We have put in place the necessary contingency plans to ensure that the most in need of legal support and advice can continue to access and help if they need during this time. And I'm incredibly grateful to legal aid providers for their patience and cooperation at a deeply challenging time." The group, of course, that carried out the attack have claimed that they have access to 2.1 million pieces of data, but we are waiting for the Ministry of Justice to confirm and verify these figures. I suppose the question about this, Joe, is with these people impacted by the cybersecurity breach, they're now like very vulnerable to targeted attacks surrounding this data, especially if like the financial information that they provide has been leaked. Could this potentially result in other sorts of financial fraud? Do you feel that the financial information that you supply to solicitors and lawyers or other businesses, do you feel that that's kept securely?
Um, I would say it's one of them things that you feel or hope that it is. It's not something you ever think about
No.
until something like this is exposed, and then you sort of red flags go through your head as to whether you are a breach or whether something could be
Yeah,
happening that
or
you are.
how you could be vulnerable to it. I mean, I've
Yeah,
spoken with people across the local region recently. For example, we have people from local solicitors and accountants that come out to the box at Castle Park, and we've spoken to them quite extensively about cybersecurity, and they understand the risks. But it's easy to see how, especially in this sort of like instance, where not everyone, even people who work directly with the government, are potentially keeping this data secure. I mean, do you think that you would know the signs to look for to tell if a business is handling your data securely?
absolutely not.
No?
Absolutely not. I would say if someone was trying to breach something from myself, I would. I'm very conscious about how I give my data, and I I read everything with a fine tooth comb whenever I ever get a suspicious email
Check
or
links and the things like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
how I give data, particularly anything financial now. Banks are very secure in terms of how many factor authorizations are required,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Um, But in terms of when you're giving data, for instance, solicitors, you're just expecting that they are doing the right thing
Yeah.
to secure your
Yeah. You
data, and
expect that
it's
these
not.
people are going to handle this data responsibly if they're going to be looking
Yeah,
after it for so many
definitely,
customers. I suppose the
definitely.
the bigger question surrounding this then is, do we think that there should be more regulation within the industry as to businesses who are handling this type of data, certain requirements that they, or minimum requirements should I say, that they must always abide by? I mean, for example, our minimum cyber defense strategy, for example, that we tell all clients that we implement for them meets industry standards of cyber essentials. And if anyone wanted to get cyber essentials certification, they would be able to based on the minimum cyber defense that we provide to them. But should we now be saying that more businesses, especially solicitors and accountants and people like that, should all now be getting this certification, abiding by either Cyber Essentials or Cyber Essentials Plus, which is the next level up, or even something to do with data security like ISO 27001? Do we think that that should now be a requirement that the government should be saying, if you work in this sector, you must abide by these standards?
Yeah, I think something ought to be looked at. I think there's also probably a cost implication as
Yeah,
well, and as you don't want it to be a case where small firms go out of business because the cost implications of these sort of new regulations become too high for their businesses to stay
yeah.
afloat, and that it's only the bigger companies that are successful, because we still need to look after the small businesses.
Oh, of
Um,
course.
but there definitely ought to be something looked at if
At
there
least a
is these
minimum
data breaches.
requirement to be met. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, completely agree. But I suppose coming back to the financial implications, I will move on to our second news story. Following on from the attack on M&S, Co-op, and Harrods and others over the past few weeks, it's been reported that Peter Green Chilled, who supplied to Tesco, Sainsbury's, Aldi, was hit by a cyber incident this past week that held the business to ransom, which has impacted orders placed since Thursday last week. Of course, this will link heavily into next week's topic, where we'll be bringing on our own CTO, Tony, to be able to discuss the impact of supply chain attacks that can, and the impact those can have on businesses. But speaking of the M&S hack, it seems to be the gift that keeps on giving for this show since we've started it. M&S in Scotland have faced a multi-million-pound class action lawsuit against them, which could result in large amounts of compensation. But I suppose on this one, like, how long until the UK takes a law firm in the UK takes up on this too, and another class action lawsuit is put into effect? I mean, for example, the financial implications on M&S have already been massive. M&S, they've seen, what is it, 1.2 billion knocked off of their market value since the attack. They're also expected to be losing somewhere in the region of about 3.5 million a day. And even News Today reported that M&S have reduced profit expectations for the current year by about 300 million, which is the equivalent to 30% of their annual profits, should I say? And they're expected to continue to see disruption throughout June and July. Of course, with the impact of the M&S and Co-op still being felt in the weeks since the attack, hackers are now looking to capitalize on the chaos and uncertainty surrounding this as other businesses rush to bolster their cyber defenses as well. However, do we now think that this sort of disruption could lead to other businesses and other retailers now being exploited who are maybe unprepared? I mean, can you imagine if, I don't know, another retailer now, they received a phone call saying, "Oh, we're going to be upgrading your cybersecurity because of these recent attacks." That could then pose its own vulnerability as well, because this could be a cyber criminal looking to access their systems to install cybersecurity tools, which, oh, it could go on and on and on and on. I mean, do you feel, Joe, that retailers beyond these major supermarkets are prepared to protect the data of their customers?
I think this is going to do wonders for retail reputation in terms of a negative, a very much a negative space. Like, retail was already
Yes.
struggling massively, and this is going to have a massive impact for the value there. And I think it goes back to a bit when there were the horse meat scandal
Yeah.
all them years ago. That
Oh, I remember that.
all what happened was consumers went to the supermarkets that weren't affected.
Yeah.
Um, so those that weren't affected ended up being more profitable because they were gaining customers.
Of
Um,
course.
and this will be the same. This will be the same thing here, in my opinion. That consumers will be going to the shops that have got the stock rather
Yeah,
than those that have got bare shelves. I went into a co-op a few weeks ago, and it was 50% there, and
yeah.
there was just signs all over the shelves saying, due to nationwide supply issues, we've got we're struggling with stock,
Barely got any
basically.
stock, basically.
Yeah,
But it's
and a
it's
lot of
not
it was
just that
fresh.
as well. I mean, M&S, for example, had to pause many of their like meal deal offers just because they couldn't have the IT systems in place to be able to allow people to redeem offers or allow people to redeem things from the club cards or whatever it was. Like it goes beyond just the stock at that point. It's like if you can't trust to be able to get the good deals or the stock or the types of products that you want from the retailer that you've felt that you've trusted for so many years, it's
Yeah,
going to maybe make you think about, you know what, I maybe should go to that place down the road. They've got stock. They've not been hacked. Like, I can just go in there. I can get basically the same thing just from a different brand.
exactly. People have habits, and a lot of people, particularly with the supermarkets, go to the same place week on, week out,
Yeah.
and it takes disruption to change that a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Same with a lot of other industries. A lot of people stick to their same choice. Now, this may disrupt the market by people choosing a new supermarket because of this stock issue, and then they may stick to their new option.
Yeah. I mean,
So you may see others benefiting from this.
yeah. In M&S, for example, them dropping the, what is it, 300 million off of their estimated profits for this year, I estimate that they're probably going to be reevaluating their estimated profits for years to come as well,
Yeah,
based on the impact that this could have on them as a whole. I mean,
yeah,
I know
definitely.
plenty of people who, I don't know, they swear by M&S, for example, for their Christmas shopping. Will that now be impacted going forward?
Yeah, well, I would say M&S is known for its quality,
Yeah,
but Sainsbury's is also good quality too.
yeah.
I'm
You
not
can
saying
say the
they're
same for
hand in
many others.
hand.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not saying they're hand in hand. But what people might say is, well, if I can't get my shopping at M&S, I might go and try Sainsbury's.
yeah,
They might go and try and get the same product. Go, do you know what? This tastes pretty much the same. I'm going to stick with Sainsbury's
yeah.
now.
And
And
also, I'm
so
now
Sainsbury's
saving
might
money or whatever. So
exactly. And in a situation where a lot of people are watching what to spend, um, Sainsbury's might capitalize on this opportunity and might find that their profits are going up.
yeah,
Um,
it's
but
interesting times. It's
yeah,
interesting times, and it will be interesting to see the impact that this has, not only as these brands struggle to recover in the immediate future, but also months and years down the line as well. So it's definitely going to be one that I'm going to be keeping an eye on for sure, because it feels like every week so far I've been able to talk about this particular topic. But I will move on to our third news story for today. Google I/O started yesterday, but that actually didn't stop us from getting some security focused Android news this past week. It's been announced that devices which support Google's AI services will now provide real-time warnings if calls show signs of potential scams. Basically, listening to the type of audio and requests that are being made on the call as part of like real-time analytics. Additionally, expanding on a feature for the caller ID and scam protection service to be able to warn users of potential scams, and also expand the scam protection to the messages received as well, warning of potential scams and unsafe links, much like we do with our own phishing protection service, where we can warn people of links that have been received if, or just unusual requests. One of the people I know in the local business community, not naming any names, they experienced this where their emails were hacked earlier this week, and the attackers had sent out a message from their email accounts trying to get people to click on links, trying to get people to pay invoices that didn't exist. It's a dangerous time. So anything that we as a business, whether it's our phishing protection, active email threat protection solutions, or whether it's Google and Apple and people like that putting in solutions to be able to help the general consumer and users around the world, is really actually Good guy Google. That's kind of the whole idea behind this sort of episode title that I went for today. But additionally, on top of this, users will be protected from accessing participating banking apps during calls that may be suspicious, and also when remotely sharing their screen, where scammers often try to convince users to transfer money, to pay for a service or a solution, and things like that. I mean, this isn't coming straight away to all Android devices. It will take a while to roll out, but like I said before, good guy Google. Like, this is the type of thing that, especially vulnerable users, they need to be aware of these types of things. And if you receive a phone call from someone pretending to be Microsoft saying, "Oh, you've been hacked. If you pay me this much, I can resolve your issues," sorts of things. I mean, there are YouTube channels dedicated to this, like Scammer Payback, for example, who like show people these types of attack actually happening, and basically just trying to lead them on and trying to find out where they are so that they can report them to the police and just fight back against these scammers. But if people like Google and Apple can do these types of things, it's going to vastly protect users around the world. I suppose the question is, though, do we feel that those vulnerable people, is this going to be enough to protect them? Will they be aware that this is a potential scam? Or will the scammers adapt their attack, for lack of a better phrase, to be able to combat this as well now?
I would say hackers and scammers are always going to go to the next option. It's a case of we Google and Apple and all the other industries have got to just keep staying on top of it.
Yeah.
I think it's a brilliant idea. I am sick to death of some woman from LinkedIn ringing me up about a job. I get it several times a week now, and it's a different number every time. Now, as soon as I see the number, now I usually get like junk phone numbers, and my phone does detect it's a junk number. However, somehow the LinkedIn one gets through, and
Every
through
single
having a
time.
business,
Yeah.
through having a business, I answer calls because it could be potential business. So, but the LinkedIn one is very frustrating. I've never let it go on long enough to actually understand what they're actually trying to get out of me.
No.
But if there is software that's coming
To help
then
protect
this is a
users.
brilliant. This is a brilliant step, because although I am very vigilant about this sort of stuff, there is a lot of people that aren't, or not as clued up and aware of what to look out for the signs.
I mean, for example, and I'm sure she won't mind me telling people about this, my godmother received one of these phone calls a while ago, and she was on the phone with someone who was trying to get them to access her computer to be able to look at cybersecurity on the computer and then get her to try and pay for this solution. I think they were actually pretending to be from the internet provider that she uses. But she was suspicious of it. I mean, thankfully she was, because she put them on hold whilst she worked on her computer, called me and said, "Look, I've got someone calling me about this. Like, I'm a bit suspicious that they want me to access my computer. Like, what should I do?" And I was like, "Put the phone down. It's a scam. Leave it, and we'll report it to like the relevant authorities and stuff like that." But there are many people who don't have that knowledgeable person in their lives to be able to say, "You know what, that's a scam." Like, put the phone down immediately. I received these phone calls. Like, I get phone calls. I remember, I think it was during like lockdown. I received a phone call from someone pretending to be from, I think it was like Norton or somewhere like that, some sort of like antivirus solution, saying, "We've detected a virus on your system. We need to be able to remotely access it to be able to turn it off." I was like, "Oh, I've actually got a few computers in my house. Which one do you think it is?" "Oh, it's your Windows computer." I was like, "That's funny. I don't have any Windows computers in my house." And they immediately put the phone down. I do have a couple of Windows computers in my house, but like, I knew it was a
Try to
scam.
outsmart them.
And I was just like, I'm not having any of it. I'm not having any of it. But I suppose with Google now doing this, and other people like Apple trying to build like similar AI features into their phones. Do you think that Apple will now be quick to follow on similar protection rules, especially for
Yeah,
text messages and phone calls? Because whilst you can get this in like email and stuff already, like on iPhone, I can go into my messages now and see a message from someone pretending to be Every and trying to get me to click on a link to be able to pay for a delivery that needs, I don't know, import duties or something like that. Like, Apple don't have this in place at the moment. Great that
yeah,
Google are doing it, but should Apple be quick now to follow?
yeah. I do find Apple are always a little bit behind on everything. Um,
I love Apple,
they,
but
they
yes.
yes, they are never the first in most cases to bring out something.
No.
However, when they do, it usually is the most simplest and efficient way of doing it.
Yeah.
So I will give them that credit. However, most things in terms of hardware or software related, Android usually comes first.
Yeah.
Um, but Apple usually does it best when it does come out from them.
Yeah,
So
they seem
I,
to take that
yeah,
extra bit of time to be able to implement certain things.
yeah,
And I don't want to start this iOS versus Android, Apple versus
yeah,
Windows, or anything like that. Everyone
yeah,
is good in their own respects. However, I've
yeah.
noticed something similar from my own perspective, that when Apple do something that maybe another brand has done first, they kind of leave it that little bit longer to be able to see, okay, well, this isn't
It,
working. We'll do it this way instead.
yeah. It's like they look to see where the cracks fall in
Yeah.
the idea, and then go, do you know what? We'll make that better.
Yeah. I,
But yeah, going back to what the question was, I do think they'll follow suit.
yeah.
Whether it be a regulation that comes, or whether it be just seeing how well Google do with it, I do think it'll come.
Yeah.
Whether it be in the next year or so, it'll come with an update.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we won't have to wait long to be able to find out about what is coming new to iOS, because the Worldwide Developers Conference, I am just having a look on my phone, where they announced the
The
latest
next month.
versions of iOS and also macOS, is in 19 days. So
Mm.
hopefully we'll find out more about what is coming to iOS, new AI solutions that are coming to the platform, and hopefully security solutions like this as well. So cross fingers on that one, because this will be great to be able to protect more and more users around the world from these types of scams. I will move on to our tech topic for today, which is, if you haven't seen the article on our website and through our socials, is about minimum hardware requirements. Now, October 14th isn't far away. There are only 146 days until Windows 10 becomes end of life, leaving about 53% of Windows users globally exposed to new cyber threats, zero-day attacks, as well as losing support for software and services such as Microsoft 365, which will not receive support or updates after this time. But also, many businesses are now struggling to ensure that their hardware is kept up to date to keep them secure. We often get businesses asking, okay, well, I need to be able to change my hardware because this will no longer be secure after October 14th. But what spec do I need? A Gartner study recently revealed that 60% of small to medium sized businesses do thankfully consider the specification and performance of their machines to be vital to enhancing their team productivity. But what specs do we recommend? Well, for us, it's important that we consider that computer specs are not always a one size fits all solution for every employee, in that different employees and different roles within a business, and even different businesses entirely, can have different hardware specification requirements. For example, for salespeople, project managers, account managers, HR administrators, financial personnel, so on and so forth, these roles might only require access to things like email and Teams and documents, spreadsheets, and things like that, or even just access to a web browser for access to a CRM or a central database and things like that. For these people, so looking at something like a Windows 11 Pro machine with a Core i5 or Ryzen 5 processor, 16 gig of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage, and an integrated graphics processor of some kind would probably be more than suitable for those particular roles. But other people within those roles could be power users who may require that little bit extra. It's crucial to remember that whilst the minimum spec requirements for Windows 11 is actually much lower than what I've said, we found that this minimum spec is suitable for the use cases of the majority of businesses with those kind of basic level needs. But just remember, not all roles are the same. For example, a 3D designer or an architect who works with 3D models might require a desktop over a laptop, which then has a higher end CPU, such as a Core i7 or i9 or a Ryzen 7 or 9, maybe paired with more RAM and a dedicated graphics card to ensure that the smooth running of programs and faster render times of 3D models. And even then, it's important to remember that when it comes to graphics cards, not all graphics cards are created equal as well. For example, and this is kind of getting a little bit more technical, there is a full article on our website if you want to have a look at it in more detail. But for example, an NVIDIA 1590, the latest and greatest multi-thousand-pound graphics card, is about 50% faster than an older 3090 in Blender rendering, and is about a third as faster again as previous generations of the 4080 Super, for example. Of course, these are only rough numbers. We do have a full article on our website this week at 20-4.it. That's the words 2020-4.it. Which you can find over on our insights page. We also have graphs and links to examples from LTT Labs, as well as other examples on top of the 3D designer and architect, should I say, including videographers, data analysts, graphic designers, and much more. But it's also important to consider that these requirements may just go beyond hardware. It may include the consideration of software that people use and what works best for their workflows. For example, I myself am a Mac user. I've been using Mac since probably about the late 90s. And it's not to say that I don't use Windows. As I mentioned before, I actually do have a couple of Windows machines and also Linux machines in our home that I use for different tasks, but these aren't my daily machines. My daily machines are my Mac machines. I use them here in the office. I use them at home. And this is primarily because I find that this works best for my own workflows. And that some of the software that I use when I'm creating videos, for example, I use Final Cut, which is made by Apple for video editing and is only available on Mac. At 24, we understand that each business's unique requirements involve understanding each user's role within the business as part of their technology alignment strategy. And we find that this works best to ensure that the devices work for them and not against them. So if you'd like to find out more, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to the 24IT team, head over to 20-4.it, and you can either book an appointment with us or you can reach out to us over the phone to be able to discuss your minimum hardware requirements and making sure that you are ready for that Windows 10 end of life on October 14th. But for yourself, Joe, what do you feel that works best for you in your business? Do you look for any particular hardware when you're speccing a new machine for what you do?
So a lot of people might not think this as a travel consultant, but we have a lot of programs open at the same time.
Yeah. Multiple windows.
Yes, so we have to have a lot of things on the go. So having a good computer is quite vital. So we have two machines that we run. We're all Mac. We've been, well, myself and Emily have been Mac and Apple users since the late noughties. And so we have a MacBook that we take out with us sort of everywhere so that we can work on the go. As we are a very flexible business, so when we go on holiday, we take the laptop with us because our service is so that we're there for all our customers all the time. And then we have a Mac Studio that we have at home, as well as an ultra wide monitor, which enables us to have about 3 windows open at the same time on all the screen. This enables to look at, say, be able to book a holiday, look at details of what the client's wanting, and maybe
Planning
also
itineraries and things like that.
Yeah, we can do multiple things all on the same screen at the same time. So I bought the Mac Studio slightly before starting the business because I wanted a nice Mac that was going to last a lot of years.
Yeah, and it's a good machine as well. Good machine.
Yes, it's very powerful. It can, and we don't. Our business isn't just like posting offers and things. We have social medias. We do TikToks. We video edit and that sort of thing. So we needed a good machine that was capable of doing a lot of things.
Like for yourselves, not only are you travel consultants, but you're also your own marketing, you're your own financial personnel, you're the business owners. So for you, your machine actually has to suit multiple different purposes across your business. So if you're, I don't know, if you're booking plans for someone, I don't know, say you're planning a Disney vacation, I see Jordan's put in the chat, what does it say behind you? It's, what is it, Disney Dining?
So it says Disney Dining, which would Disney Dining. That is because there is free Disney dining offer for Florida 2026 currently on sale.
So you could be
we did TikTok for that.
Yeah. So you could be planning people's dining plans, and you could have multiple web pages open and things like that. And whilst that isn't very hardware intensive, if you're then creating a video about you doing the wall and maybe editing that together, or maybe you're doing a video about, I don't know, upcoming offers that you've got on, you need to make sure that the hardware that you're using can support that video editing as well. And it's not to say that Apple is primarily the only one for video editing. You can have video editing on Windows machines as well. Adobe Premiere, for example. It's just that for my workflow, I use Final Cut. It just makes it easier for me.
Another thing for me was when Apple brought their own processing out with the Apple Silicon. And the specs on them was so far superior to what they had with Intel previously. I was blown away with the results that they were getting.
Even just the ability to swap memory between the graphics and onboard memory on the fly, depending on the needs of the users, is really good. Although we also, like I say, we support people such as architects, 3D designers, and graphic designers. We support people who work in industries such as legal, finance, and the majority of them do require Windows machines. For example, an architect that we support works on Windows. They work inside like CAD platforms, Blender, things like that when they're creating 3D models and things. And those Windows machines and high-end graphics cards and high-end processors is what works right for them. And it's about understanding those needs. Like, what works for you and what works for me may not work well for someone else. And that's, as a business, that's what we try to do, to try and understand each individual businesses and person's need within that business as part of this technology alignment strategy, let's say. I suppose the other question off of the back of this, though, is, Joe, you've worked in quite a few different industries across planning and customer service and things like that. Do you feel in the businesses that you've worked that the hardware in those industries meets the needs of its users? Do you feel that the business or those businesses understand their users' requirements when it comes to hardware, whether it's desktops, laptops, or just the roles within the business?
So every industry else that I've worked in has used Windows. Most have used just something standard in terms of a laptop or a desktop. Nothing fancy in terms of machine, but it's all been connected to servers. To allow for the speed,
file access, secure storage, and things like that.
So everything's been connected, and so there's never been any issue in terms of connectivity or anything like that. So, but I think that's more of a high-end corporate side of thing. If you're working for a small business and you're going down that route, I think that's probably more where it's more important to get the hardware correct.
Yeah.
And looking at more that what is your business requirements,
Yeah.
and
What are the requirements of
make
your
it, yeah,
users?
not necessarily what you need now, but how will it change in a couple of years' time? Will you still be looking for the same requirements, or is your business going to grow and you're going to need further requirements?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if I'd have started this and not had the idea that I was going to do any TikToks, if I'd have just bought, say, a standard Mac or a standard Windows computer,
Yeah.
and then decided to do TikToks, and it wasn't
It's like
capable of
struggling to be able to do the video
editing, yeah,
editing and stuff like
I'd
that.
have had to go down a different route, or I'd have had to do it on my phone, which is a lot more difficult to edit.
Yeah.
It is capable, but it's a lot more fidgety than having the capability of editing on a computer.
Yeah. And that's something that our technology alignment strategy, when we're speaking with clients, takes into account. Like, we always speak to businesses like, what are your plans 6 months from now? Where do you want to be a year from now, or even 5 years from now? We don't want to put technology in place now for the business or their users that in 12 months' time they're going to have to replace because it's like, oh, we've grown, we need to do more now. It's like, okay, well, if you're planning to grow to this level within the next year, do you feel that this hardware will be right for you and your users going ahead 12 months from now, or even further afield as well? So no, I completely agree. Taking those sorts of things into consideration is extremely important. We'll move on though now. Now is the time of the show where I like to highlight a different local business every week. That's the whole reason why we have a different co-host from the local business community every week. So, Joe, tell us more about the history behind Travel with Joe and Emily. How did you get started? I mean, you've been doing this, what, for about a year or so now? Is that right?
Yeah, so basically, Emily and myself have been together for over 13 years now, and ever since we started going out, we realized our passion was traveling. It was the one thing that kind of brought us together, and we have just done really nice holidays. We've done city breaks, we've done cruises, we've been quite a lot of places. And then last year we were lucky enough to become parents for the first time,
Awesome.
and everything changed in our lives. We realised that although we were excited to become parents, we didn't realise how much we adored the idea of becoming parents, or the idea of once we were parents, how much we adored it. And something stuck in my head after speaking to a colleague, that I realized that if I didn't make a change in my life, that when my son got to school age, I would not be able to do the school runs.
Yeah.
And that really bothered me. It really like stuck in my head that I was kind of like, if I need to make that change, I want to be that really good dad who can always go and take his son to school, pick his son up, ask him about his day, what's he done, who's he friends with, what's he been talking about, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I want to be that full dad experience. And then it asked me that 3 years ago, and that was never going to be what I was going to turn out like. But my world has been shook upside down. It's been absolutely fantastic since becoming a dad, and I absolutely love him to bits. But that kind of thought in my head, along with the fact that ever since I was little, I always liked the idea of having a business.
Yeah.
But I kind of never felt I could take the plunge. I was always scared about failure and the what if it didn't work out, and how would you do this? And every time I had several ideas over like the last 10 years or so, but every time I hit a roadblock, it was like, oh no, quit. Don't push it any further, sort of thing. Don't invest more money into this. You're not gonna succeed. So, and it never happened. So then last year I had this thought about the school runs, and then we went to my brother and his fiance at the time. They're now married, and they we went to their house, and they said, oh, we're going to book a city break.
Yeah.
Now we'd not been abroad for a little while because Emily was pregnant, and we both got really excited for them because we love travel, and we love the idea of booking holidays. So we said, oh, we'll help you. Well, 40 minutes went by, and we ended up helping them book a trip.
Yeah.
Then I really enjoyed it. I went back to work on Monday, and I was like, do you know what? That was really good fun. I enjoyed that.
Feel a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, and I texted Emily and I says, I really enjoyed that on Saturday. What do you think about us maybe doing that as a business?
Yeah.
And she said, we'll do some Googling then.
Yeah.
So
what do we do now?
Yeah, so I then started Googling all the ways you can start a travel business.
Yeah.
And most people do it in the form of a franchise.
Yeah.
Because you have that big backing by a big corporation. It gives you great buying power.
Yeah.
You've got all the contracts there set up for you with all the suppliers.
Yeah.
You've got your ABTA and atoll protection set up for you. All the legwork's kind of set up. You've got your head office there that helps you along the way.
Yeah.
You've got support basically. So I'm there Googling all the companies you can do it with, and a website comes up and it just like kind of lists all the companies. So I do a lot of research into all this. Yeah, I'm there. I'm searching how many people they got doing this. What's the training like? How many suppliers they got?
Yeah,
all the details. And kind of so that's when I discovered Not Just Travel. And it just so happened that their recruitment side of things, which is known as the travel franchise, had an event in Leeds the day after. Now, honestly, you could not write it. You could not write it. That's how I saw it. You could not write it. So they only do a handful of these events a year across the country. And it just so happened one was an hour away the following day with one of the co-founders, Paul Harrison. So I went along to that on my own on I think it was a Tuesday night, which was kind of like out of my comfort zone. I think there was 14 of us in the room.
Yeah.
I sat there for 2 hours. Probably looked like if you go to one of them timeshare meetings where they try and sell you something. And I thought, when I walked out thinking, what am I doing? This is so not me, this. I think I am just way out of my comfort zone here. I sat there for 2 hours and my head was just like, oh my God, this could be life-changing.
Yeah.
Absolutely life-changing. So I come away and I ring Emily on my way home and I went, oh my God, this is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So I'm there, like, I spent the next 2 weeks researching the hell out of it.
Yeah.
I watched every video they had online, researched the entire business. I spoke to 7 different people who were doing it already, with Not Just Travel.
Yeah.
All of them were positive about it. Like I literally spoke to them on the phone, and I like hour-long conversations with some of them. I wanted to know the ins and the outs of everything. So I had no secrets, nothing. I wasn't going to be sold something that I then find out there's hidden costs later on that I wasn't aware of. I wanted to know hands-on from the people that were doing it, what would I be signing up to?
Yeah.
So I did my proper research on it. Then basically 2 weeks later, we signed up to it. And 1 month later after that, Emily and I did a week's long intense training course to become a travel consultant, which was done by the other co-founder, Steve Witt. And it absolutely brilliant. So we've been doing it almost a year now, and it's been fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
We're growing at a really nice pace. We have fantastic repeat booking rate.
Yeah.
I should probably start by explaining what we do and how we're different.
Yeah, I was going to come onto that. How does a personal travel consultant differ from like your high street travel agent, I suppose?
So a standard travel agent, you kind of go into a shop, say, this is what I'm looking for. They will type some things on the computer, give you a couple of options,
Yeah.
and sort of if you choose whether you book or not, and then you go and you sort of sent on your way. If you book, you get some paperwork. If you don't, you sort of leave. With us, we're a little bit different. We will, we're a lot more flexible in terms of you can email, WhatsApp, ring us,
Yeah.
Facebook Messenger us.
Literally, even when you're on
And
holiday yourself.
yeah, we do it when we're on holiday ourselves. You you have that flexibility. It's not 9 to 5. It's any hours you want, sort of thing. Weekends, evenings, we work around you, and we have over 450 suppliers, so we can book pretty much anything. And we are there from inquiry right and through until you get back home safely.
Yeah.
So we're not just there to book you a holiday, we're there for the full experience. So we're there for advice. We can check you in for your flights. We can do restaurant reservations if you want. We'll do everything from your airport parking to your transfers to your excursions.
Yeah.
We're like the full all-in-one package, and we take the time and the stress out of booking your next perfect holiday. So you don't have to do any of the searching. We'll might ask you an initial load of questions, and they might seem like a big list to start with, but what that does is it gets us to understand you better and what you do when you go on holiday.
Yeah. And tailor the experience to that particular person or family or anything like that.
Exactly. So you might be an all-inclusive person, but you might be an all-inclusive person who stays on the resort, but some all-inclusive people might want to go and find a bar or a restaurant off the resort as well. Yeah. So we ask questions like that to know whether you want somewhere to go off-site, to make sure we're not going to offer you something that's got nothing around it.
Yeah.
So we get the really nitty-gritty questions in there so that we find the perfect holiday for you first time.
Yeah.
It saves us time and saves you time, more importantly.
Yeah.
And so that's how we save you time and stress. It takes most people hours and hours to find the perfect holiday, and we take that all away from you. You tell us exactly what you want, we'll find it for you, and then we sort everything else out. So you don't have to.
I suppose it goes beyond just that, though, to an extent. I mean, I'm wearing my Disney cap today because I knew I'd be speaking with you, and I know from planning Disney vacations, Universal vacations, and things like that over the years, that for certain things, you need to be ready at a particular time of day to be able to make sure that you can book meals or you can book experiences. And having you guys available for people who may not be available in the middle of the day to be able to go onto the Disney website and book that Cinderella's Royal Table breakfast that they were looking forward to. Like, you guys are there, you have that time, you are dedicated to making sure that these experiences work for basically your clients and that they have the best time possible so that they will come back for you, whether it's just, like I say, booking those meals, booking experiences. I mean, I know from supporting, like, again, big Disney parks nerd, I've helped people book things like the fireworks dining packages, for example. I've helped people book restaurants and lightsaber experiences, and not a lot of people realize that a lot of these things you can't do just through the UK Disney website because they're just not available. You need to be able to work with a travel consultant, or you need to be able to have even certain technology in place, just like a VPN, to be able to say, you know what, I'm actually in America, so I can book that Savvy's workshop lightsaber experience so that I can build my own lightsaber. Not a lot of people know about that. Whereas you guys, you have the experience, you have done this time and time again, and you have the connections with these brands to be able to make sure that it works out for people.
Exactly. And when I first started going to Disney, for example, I got laughed at by friends when I said I got a spreadsheet, and I had planned my holiday out. Yeah, but it's most Florida users now.
Yeah,
because if you've been and you haven't, you realise you've missed out. Because you've either been stuck in queues or you've not got to do half of what you wanted to do, because that is what the Florida experience requires.
Mine even goes down all the way into per park, what are the highest like crowds per day? I forget the application now. Touring plans, I think it is off the top of my head, that can
Yeah,
track not only park crowds per day, but also the
yeah,
park crowds at peaks per day. See when maybe
yeah.
you want to go certain place in the morning, certain place in the afternoon, and
It's
like,
fantastic.
oh, I love it. I could plan Disney vacations all
It's
day
a
long.
it's a nerd's dream,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I
But
absolutely
if you're
love
going
it.
if you're going to Florida for the first time, it just goes like
Yeah,
way
not a
above
lot
your
of
head.
people know these things. They just want
You're
to
like, oh
go
my
and
god.
enjoy the holiday, and that's it. And not a lot of people take these sorts of things into account. Not a lot of people think, oh, if I'm going to. Okay, here's a good example. For those not in the Disney Universal Orlando Parks sphere, tomorrow, Universal's Epic Universe opens. And this is the first brand new Florida theme park in I forget how long. But it has,
Probably since Volcano Bay, if you count
yeah,
that.
if you count water parks. If you don't count water
Yeah,
parks, what would it be? Animal Kingdom,
maybe.
potentially. Anyway, it's the biggest and best latest technology. They've got uh different sections of the park themed to How to Train Your Dragon, Harry Potter. They've got Universal's classic monsters. They've got Super Nintendo and Donkey Kong. Like this will be the location that people want to go to. And people will be like, okay, well, how do I get my park tickets? Like, people may think, oh, I can go to that for a day and I'll get everything done. I can guarantee within the
No.
very first couple of years, you will struggle to get everything done within one day. And working with a travel consultant, people like yourself will be able to say, actually, you know what? Probably for your family, if you're not going to be there from very first thing in the morning until late on in the evening, you're going to be looking at 2 to 3 days. And also,
Yeah.
you may want to look into something like the Universal Express Pass to be able to skip some of the lines. And this is what the costing is going to be. And if you go at this time of year, it's going to cost this much. But if you go at this time of year, it's going to cost this much. Like, you guys have the connections and the experience to say to people, you know what, if you want to make the most out of your holiday, these are the essential things that you need to be able to consider.
Yeah, definitely. I like, for instance, Universal for this year for opening, all Universal tickets only come with 1 day if
Yeah,
you pay for the add-on to Epic Universe. It's only next year's tickets that actually come with multiple days,
yeah,
whatever you
included.
want, because the demand will be so huge. They've had to put that limit on.
Yeah,
I looking at the size of Epic Universe, I expect it to be somewhat similar to Magic Kingdom.
yeah, give or
Looking at
take.
the layout, that you're probably looking at least 2 days that you need to kind of complete it.
Yeah.
Now, with the demand on the first year, the queue the queues will be so massive. You're probably looking at nearer 3 to really do all the rides, unless you go
Yeah.
and pay for that express pass
Yeah, I've been
to really feel
saying,
like you completed it.
yeah, I've been saying that we're probably going to look at going in a couple of years' time once the kind of like initial hype has died down. But even then, we're planning like 3 days, just because like even with Express Pass, there's so much to be able to see and do,
Yeah.
even just down to like experiencing the lands. Honestly, I am that deep into YouTube videos at this point. I've got a very close friend. He was best man at my wedding, and he's like, I don't want to see anything. I want to be just like surprised when I go. And I'm like, no, I've watched like hundreds of hours worth of YouTube videos of like pass holder previews and oh, what was it? The like and a pass holder previews, cast member previews. That was the other one.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I am that deep down the rabbit hole right now. I'm like looking at all of the little things in all the videos and all of the little Easter eggs. I'm like, I cannot wait to be able to go to this place. Um,
I am
oh,
thinking, how can I make this a business trip to go to Epic
yeah.
Universe?
There has to be some way, right? There has to be some. You have to be able to experience it to be able to properly
Yeah.
advise people on being able to go
You
to the.
see, the difference between me and Emily on terms of Florida, I like roller coasters.
Oh, I
Emily's
love
more
it.
Disney.
Yeah,
Emily's more Disney like side of things. She's not a big roller coaster fan. She likes certain rides to a certain
yeah,
degree, but I'm like a big roller coaster fan. So Universal's my sort of thing. Disney's more hers.
yeah.
So I'm really excited about Epic Universe. Um, it doesn't quite justify it for her to go over to Epic Universe for like a day. And especially with our son as well,
Yeah.
he definitely won't be able to enjoy
No.
it as much. But for me, I'm like, could I fly over just for a few days and just do a couple of day passes
strategy
just so?
chip, a strategy trip, should I say? Yeah, has to
Well,
be done.
for social media purposes, that is it's a great opportunity. It's
Exactly.
so popular and so trending right now that there's definitely a market for it.
Exactly.
And for people like we're working on a few inquiries right now for Florida, and that is definitely something that people are talking about is Epic Universe. So to
Yeah.
have that experience would be vital for our business.
Awesome. Now, let's wrap up for today. Have you got any special offers at the moment that people need to be aware about when they're booking holidays, whether it be Disney, Universal, cruises, or anything else? Any special
Yeah.
offers that people need to be aware of in the coming year ahead?
So, as I mentioned before, free Disney dining is available right now for Florida 2026. For those who aren't aware what that is depending on what Disney resort chosen, you get so much free dining to available across the whole Disney resort. It is very good value for money if you haven't experienced it before. I've done it a few times now, and it is brilliant. I've done it across different range of resorts as well, so I highly recommend that if you're thinking of Florida for next year.
Yeah, I can highly advise the Disney dining plan. I've done it on a couple of occasions myself, and it's just that convenience. If you go into Disney, it's depending on the dining plan level that you have, because there are multiple of them.
Yeah.
Being able to just go and kind of not worry about your meals is the equivalent of almost the all-inclusive sort of aspect to it.
It's a theme park thing though, that theme parks are expensive for food and that. So if you don't have to worry about it, it's a great perk to have.
Yeah.
Cruises. So we're quite experienced with cruises as well. We have literally just come off one. We were on MSC Virtuoso last week, doing the Norwegian fjords. We can book cruises up until 2027. You can get some fantastic prices if you book early for cruises.
Yeah.
We do all cruise lines, and we do our payment. We can do direct debits, low deposits. We often have offers for extra onboard credit, extra exclusive offers and things like that. So if you think about a cruise, come talk to us. And then there's a lot of people doing late bookings right now for the summer, a lot more than usual. I don't know whether that's down to cost implications in the new tax year or what this year, but a lot of people are late booking. So if that's something that you haven't got your summer holiday booked, we have a lot of things going on right now, so that's something that you can talk about. And finally, if it's not too early to talk about Christmas, but
never too early.
Christmas markets are always very popular. Now, if you book them early, you often get a lot better deal than if you wait till October.
Yeah.
A lot of people wait till October and say, "Can I book a Christmas market?" And you often pay a premium for having to wait that long. So some of them you can get them for like near £200 or £300 per person. If you wait till October, November time, you can be paying £100 more per person. So it's definitely worth booking early. Like I said before, we could do low deposits and direct debits for that. So I would say they're the things that I'd recommend.
Awesome.
If that's something that guys are interested in.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I think that's all we've probably got time for today. I think I'm going to go and get my own lunch in a little bit. But thank you very much, Joe, for joining us today, sharing a little bit about your thoughts on today's topics, as well as telling us about who you are, what you do, and how you can support businesses with businesses and people, and people booking their own holidays in the coming future. So if you've got any more questions for Joe, you can find him over at Travel and Joe and Emily on Facebook, or he's also available on LinkedIn. Just drop him a message as well. So
I'm everywhere.
Yeah,
I'm everywhere.
So thank you very much, Joe, for joining us today. I will be back again next week with another show where our guest will be our very own Tony Houlihan, and we'll be talking about things like supply chain attacks and just talking about a little bit of what we've got coming up and some teasers of some upcoming things that we can't talk about yet, but I'm looking forward to sharing that information in the hopefully not too distant future. Thank you again, Joe, for joining us, and hope everyone has a fantastic day.
Thank you.